Ash and Andrew show. So, hello everybody. Hey kids!
Howdy kids!
So, welcome once again to another Camelot Unchained weekly update live stream where Ash and his spirit animal slash anger expresser,
Totem beast?
yeah, totem beast.
There you go. I like that. That sounds cool.
Totem beast.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't sound, anything less than metal.
I feel like you're just going to like run around and stamp me into the ground in 4 different locations to buff the party now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of you being out here, is to buff the party.
Oh my god, I really am a totem. Fucking Christ. Oh.
How's the audio? Can everyone hear us all right?
Yeah. No, in WoW, my main was a Tar and Shaman, so
Oh.
I love plopping those totems down.
I'm not surprised.
As a gamer, just fundamentally, I like doing things, not just like you take damage, I like doing things that affect other things.
Well, I mean, that was always my favorite type of RPGs were the ones
What is the cascading chain reaction that I can set up of all the things buffing and debuffing and,
or mines and traps
and causing chaos? Well,
I've been playing a lot of 76, so my go-to at this point in time is just get 50 mines, lay a trail of 50 mines, aggro as many things as possible, let them run into the minefield. It's good times.
Yeah, I mean that is whatever else you want to say about Bethesda's games, the ability to just set things up and cause things to happen in the world that the developers never planned.
Oh yeah, no,
is wonderful.
Yeah.
Like it is a toy. Now whether that is fun for other people is another conversation, but it's certainly fun to do it yourself.
Yes, and sometimes you just have to be selfish with your fun, and you just have to recognize that even if it's a multiplayer game, sometimes you just have to enjoy yourself. Sometimes, not always though.
So who run Ashtown? Who run Ashtown? Yeah, that's what I thought. Spirit Totem run Ashtown.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so this is we have our update. We also have a bunch of building blooper footage that Brian has put together, and I have not actually seen this video, but we're gonna play it on the wall behind us or something.
It's gonna be great. We're gonna do it live.
Yeah, I'm gonna see it for the first time when you see it. Well, 30 seconds before you see it. So let's dive into the list first. Okay. Number one thing is weekend testing on New Auto Prep. It's going to be on New Auto Prep. I'm not sure of the exact time. That'll watch your email for an update on it. I believe that is going to be alphas, and it's going to be a fairly recent build with a whole lot of changes. Which. We're just going to dive into the list and tell you what they are.
So, one of the first tech pieces this week that we want to talk about is 64-bit and coherent. This has been an ongoing process, and we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So, as of right now, the client is full 64-bit, and it's the default client for everybody. So, if you've got the client, you should be running the 64-bit client. And we have fixed a lot of the UI issues, so the UI should be getting there. I still think the building
interface only works on the 32-bit client still.
Right, so
Matt is actively working on that.
He is. Well, not right there, but if he was here in the office, he would be right there working on it. He's presently at home working on it, though. So it's happening. It's happening right now.
Yeah, I heard something about like a wombat attack that
basically
ate his feet. Could not come into the office.
It was horrible, blood everywhere, and then there's the poor wombat who it choked on the feet. I mean, a wombat is not designed to eat feet.
That's not intelligent design.
No, it's really not.
If I were intelligent and I were designing wombats, I would design them so that they could eat Matt's feet and keep on going.
And this is what it boils down to. When chaos and allele distribution in a population forced by allotropic pressures occurs in an organism, you get feet not eating wombats.
Yeah, when is Bethesda going to make a game where I can make feet eating wombats?
I would I'm hoping that is a key feature.
That is top tier sandboxing right there. Yeah. Starfield, I'm hoping for it.
There you go. I want a genetics lab, and I want to make wombats in the genetics lab. It'd be great.
Is basically Minecraft meets Spore.
I play the shit out of that.
Oh, that's such a true fact. Long ago, I was high school bedroom programmer, but then I discovered genetics, and I was like, this is so much cooler than C++. And I went to college with the intention of majoring in genetics, and I was really freaking good at it.
Yeah, why did you stop?
Disappointed. By the second semester of my freshman year, they were like, "We want you to tutor the seniors." Seriously, I was badass at it. And then I looked at the career path and realized there were all these ethical concerns with just going off and writing creative code in AGCT instead of C++.
Suddenly you get you clone one little sheep and people care, but you modify 2 little babies and oh no, it's an ethical issue and the whole world's up in arms.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is where I want to be. I want to say I have a cool idea and I'm going to code up a proof of concept and I'm going to take it to Kickstarter and I'm going to crowdfund making more of that. You cannot do that with genetics.
No, you can't. It is a real tragedy.
A whole new world.
With squid sharks everywhere.
Someday my children's engineered children will get the chance to do that. But it's, I was born too soon.
Yeah. Or much too late. One of the two.
Yeah. I could have been Dr. Megzenstein. It is Megzenstein.
It is. I think about that from time to time. If I was born just 200 years earlier, right? I would be the perennial Renaissance man, creating all of these wonderful, horrible technologies. I would have done Tesla proud. But no, I have to live in this day and age where super weapons are frowned upon. You can't build orbital railguns. That's against the Geneva Convention.
It's only against the Geneva Convention for nation states to do so. You as an individual are not a signatory.
That's true. I mean, getting the licenses to put it up there from NASA is hard.
Elon Musk is a lot scarier now, isn't he? Or Bezos.
Or Bezos.
Yeah, he's got his own space program too.
Yeah, and he's being real quiet about it. Make sure everyone's getting up there.
Oh yeah, that's probably scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I order a prime railgun strike?
New from Amazon, Prime Railgun. Obliterate your enemies before they even know it.
Okay, so which is all a way of saying 64-bit client is working a whole lot better.
It is,
and the major frame rates are higher, performance crashes are lower.
Much lower.
It's everything we wanted. We haven't really gone through and twisted all the knobs to turn up texture resolution and all of that. That's mostly because George has been super busy
doing real work.
Yeah, that's real work.
Well,
but we are going to make him do that soon.
Very soon.
Yeah, and buildings are still the interface to build buildings. The UI there is still a big missing piece, but that should be coming on early next week, I think.
Yep.
Because it's so close.
There should be some great stuff on that.
And so, also just did a bunch of bug fixes. I'm not going to get into them.
Yeah, we don't need to go item by item.
Yeah,
it's going to be good stuff.
Strike JK and Bosch. I want you to know the two of you got so many hours of my time chasing down exactly which configuration problem with the build was making the 64-bit client crash for you two. I hope you were watching and I hope you appreciate it.
He was here late fixing that for you guys. So yeah, it's my schedule time, man. Reckon my schedule time. I got a nice little chart. It's got everybody's time on it. And
yeah, do you know how much it sucks to work late when you're already jet lagged?
Yes, I do. I have nothing but sympathy for you. But
no, you just have nothing. You have nothing. All right. So number 3.
Number 3.
As part of rolling out the 64-bit client, we had a bunch of things that, a bunch of changes that we made to the patcher to let you, auto-select whether it ran, load the 64-bit and 32-bit, auto-select based on what your computer was configured as, and then give you a checkbox to override it. And we screwed up.
A little bit.
So you might have noticed some unfortunate patcher problems where the UI was suddenly taking, an entire CPU core, and
all of your characters appeared to be female. There was some slowness selecting those characters. Yeah, there's just a couple little issues.
So we fixed that, and we don't really get credit for, hey, we introduced a bug this week and fixed that.
Yeah.
But what I do think we get credit for is that as part of this, we, did some infrastructural things that we should have done a long, long time ago, which is that we, there's always just been like, you patch the, you get the patcher on your computer, and it's this tiny little executable. It's like, a couple 100K, and it runs, and like all it does is it knows how to pull data down and run the data that it pulls down. So the first thing it does is it patches itself, and then it patches the UI just like the UI was a game, and it runs the UI. So it's a tiny little core, and it's meant to be just like unbreakable, because if you ever break that, it can't patch itself.
Right. So kind of need that to be solid.
But there was only one of those. We had no test channel for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done is set up like a whole test channel for like the next patcher and the next patcher UI and all of that runs separately. And all the IT people, technically anyone can do this, but we're asking specifically the people who are internal test tier. You can set up a shortcut that will run the experimental next upcoming patcher, and we're going to be testing those out in the wild and not just in the office before we deploy new patchers, to make sure that that never happens again.
Being a little bit more solid, having a little bit more regiment around that.
Just the maturation that we have to do in our processes now that we are a larger team than when it was just like, me and Dave write a patcher by ourselves. So that's that's going to happen, and we'll never ever screw this up again.
Well, I won't make that promise. I will say that when we screw it up, we will find it sooner. That I can be sure of. Yeah. Number 4, all about abilities. So the ability system work has been ongoing for some time now. It's been great. We're making a lot of progress. Right now, ITs might have seen we had on Hatchery some of the new ability stuff hooked up and running. So if anybody was on much earlier today, they might have seen some of that. We're hoping to be able to roll that out for test very, very soon. We've been testing it internally.
Just to review on what this is and why.
Yes.
Like, we learned a lot about, as we did our push to beta over the summer, we learned a lot about, okay, this, each of these skills is taking too long to set up and script. Like, we just cannot make our ship date if every skill takes as long as the skills that we have been doing so far.
Yep.
So we've spent a lot of tooling on, just number of classes times number of skill parts, and you say, okay, well, we need to be able to turn out this many per day,
basically.
And so just a really awesome streamlined system that allows us to do that.
And it's been good because it's it's even more robust than that, because we found some gains that we get out of doing this, and how we do our messaging for events, which has done nothing but improve the system, make the skills better, make what we can do with the skills better. So now it's just, honestly, it's plugging everything in, and
starting next week, a lot of this was just making it so that events can be represented and listened for and reacted to in a super just like generic streamlined way. And so starting next week, we're going to be using some of that to build out fancier event triggers for another stage of scenarios, which
super
is
future stuff.
Straight up keep sieges.
Yep, it's gonna be really cool. Yeah, well,
that's next week, though. We'll talk about that next week.
You will. I probably won't.
It'll be a surprise for Caleb.
should make a Caleb do
Yeah,
the stream.
I'm announcing Caleb's task next week on the stream. It's what you get for going on vacation.
Yeah, seriously.
Now you're committed to it.
You want to go on a tropical cruise with your family and relax? Well, we're going to broadcast all of your work to everyone.
Yeah. Way to take a family vacation.
Oh, okay. Number five. Number 5 is animations. The animation system. I wrote this. I'm quite proud of this. One of the oft overlooked pieces of tech debt that we have had since before beta, actually, has been our animation system. It's one of those things where developers need to go in and fix bugs when we get them, but we weren't. And as a byproduct...
No, I'll tell you exactly why. Because I was the guy who built the animation system. And
see, I was trying not to say that.
No, and I cycled directly on into, just owning all the things about the building system,
right.
as, and building destruction physics, and I just was not available to fix bugs for the animators the way they needed me to be.
It's almost like...
I took a deep dive on buildings.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd think you were like the senior engineer and architect of this game who is responsible for, overseeing all of that. It's crazy, though. That could never happen.
Yeah, but, we... so there's a new hire.
Yep.
Don't talk too much about new hires, but he's been sort of cutting his teeth on cleaning up a lot of the just like checklist of feature requests, and we're gonna get him more involved in gameplay once he's learned some of the stuff about animations. Is a great place. Just clear out the backlog of animation requests from the artists, and also learn about how we send things over the network and how stuff moves around on the client, and
It's a good place to start for gameplay, and
throw him into the gameplay pool too, starting fairly soon.
And that's going to be the deep end too. I mean, we're going to basically just be tossing him in and saying, don't burn alive in this fire that we are tossing you into to baptize you with. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. I'm excited actually. He's going to be working with Matt, and they're going to be working on some cool stuff in the very very near future. Yeah. So. Number six, the building server. So the core building server is completed. Colin has checked that in. He's got that in for us. The next steps are kind of segregating that to make it its own sort of standalone thing. But right now we have done the core work on that. So the building server, the glory of it.
So there's 2 parts of the game. Four parts that run online. There's the proxies that you connect to, and those are just shoveling packets back and forth as fast as possible. And then there's the physics server, which, needs to have a very consistent low latency reaction of, a thing happened and we immediately just, I'm standing here and I'm standing here, and the next tick I'm standing here and you are standing here and here and here, and just, never ever just be rock solid on getting every tick done in time. And then there's the sort of the gameplay server that handles higher level concepts like effects and spells, and those things can be a little more scriptable because they need to, various complexities of triggers and reactions. But so sometimes that might run a little long if a lot of people fire off a spell at the same time. But the physics server is still just keeping things moving smoothly.
Right. That nice.
But then there's this third thing of a building took damage and we need to recalculate whether it's stable or not to see if it falls down, and those are things that kind of at the other extreme from the physics server, where they they're potentially long-running tasks. They're big batches. They're it's a batch processing engine if you really want to think about it that way. And we didn't have a good place for that, because including that code in any of these other parts that are super latency sensitive doesn't give us it means those things might stall. So forking that out into its own safe space where if it takes 100 milliseconds to figure out whether this building is going to fall over or not, it's not going to disrupt anything else.
Right.
So that's an important thing.
It is,
and that's the motivation for it. And unfortunately, it's not really a user visible thing, other than when a whole lot of buildings are either like being constructed or destructed, you don't notice any physics or ability lag.
And that is really the sell.
If it's working perfectly, you won't notice it. If it's not, when it wasn't there, sometimes I would just be like, yeah, that's building lag. So that's why. And Colin's done a smashing job on that, as always.
Oh, get it. rubble smashing. I kill myself. All right, next one on our list is number 7, and that is our mesh simplification. So one of the things that we have is a very complex mesh simplification system, which I think is very impressive, coming from my background in art and animation, and I think what we do there is very interesting and very complex.
Yeah, and it has to do with a lot of like what we do at runtime. You know, like you made a building. That's not a model that we can optimize offline. It's something we have to. You know, the terrain is all procedural and potentially deformable. You know, you put together a character outfit that someone customized their weapon in some crazy way, and all of that is we can't pre-optimize it. So the game is optimizing these meshes all the time,
which is pretty fantastic. And we've done some work to kind of touch that up, work on that a little bit, specifically around buildings, getting the mesh simplification there working. And we're starting to work on some of the terrain stuff. And this should fix some of the bugs with some of the terrain issues that people have encountered. And that is work that has begun this week, so it's very exciting.
Yeah, we've been doing that pipes into like this was kind of built as a special case for just characters, and then we started using it for buildings, and now getting it on the terrain means we can do much better colliders for terrain, which should lock down exactly how you bump into things or don't. Like some of the things like where you'll be seeing like the rendered terrain will be slightly jagged, and then the terrain that you walk over will not match that.
Yeah. So that should be nice that we resolve some of those and get that a little bit more cleaned up. So
tighten up the physics on level 3. Graphics are tight enough. Just tighten the physics.
Tighten the physics. Leave the graphics be. Oh, I remember those commercials. I was so confused because I didn't get it. I was like, how does that work? Is that a real thing? Am I missing something in my schooling? Like, what didn't I learn that I could go tighten up the graphics on level 3? How does that even work? How does it even work, Andrew? I don't know.
Well, if we'd gone to ITT, we would know.
Clearly we missed out on some special knowledge here, some very eldritch and arcane knowledge.
I was learning how to not be a geneticist instead of learning it instead of graphics tightening classes.
Right? Oh well, life goes on, I guess. Wow, we're to the art section already. Oh no, now I have to read all the art stuff that Tyler wrote. This doesn't make any sense. It's all gibberish.
See, if we were in Fairfax, we would just this would be the time when Tyler would be hovering over there and would be like, explain this.
Just. All right, so character 2.0. So we've been talking about this quite a bit. This is our upgrades to our textures and our meshes a little bit to get our characters looking better and working better and being better, just better characters. So one of the things that's in progress right now is the updated models that John has been working on. This has been the armor sets and specifically the Viking heavy and light armors. Next he'll be doing the Lupercon base meshes, like the body meshes. And
Lupercon.
Lupercon, come on.
That's still wrong.
But no, that's how it's spelled here. Is it?
No, it's Lucorpan.
That was Lucherpan.
It's Lucherpan. Like a luchador.
We need to get a pronunciation guide.
Max has one.
Really?
Yeah, we
Max,
just don't. No, we keep that in the Fairfax office. And don't send it to you on purpose, just so that we can make fun of how you mispronounce all the things in the game lore.
Yeah, I do that all the time, like really consistently too.
Hatchling.
Yeah, so you know how our servers.
Wormery and hatchling.
Yeah, I've been doing so I just started calling them worm and hatch because I just could not. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But yeah, so what's he? After that, he's looking at the NPCs for the materials, and then he's going to be doing some disco ball work. What? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, he's updating the materials on the home island so they don't look like disco balls when you make the UV update. I was wondering why he was making disco balls. I didn't really understand that. Then we've got the updated model lots. This is something that you guys will actually see in game and actually have some serious noticeability for us. We're
make them look better at distance.
Yeah, the lotting, which is a level of detail. For those of you who don't know, and the LOD level is basically we simplify the texture and meshes as something gets nearer or farther away. So we're working on updating our logs for the new character types, as well as, I think, are we doing any of the, no, we're not doing any of the existing stuff, as well as some of the logic behind when and how we do those logs. So that is going to be some very substantial changes and make everything look a little bit better based on your distance. Maybe some performance gains. George was saying we'd get performance gains. I think George was lying to me.
Okay, so Ash, I want you to get your absolute sternest comic book villain face on.
Okay.
And say, kneel before Laud.
Kneel before Laud!
Excellent.
Yeah, I actually got a t-shirt that says kneel before Zod on it. I'm surprised you.
Are you projecting? I don't think they can hear you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I actually have a kneel before Zod t-shirt. Like, Zod, especially the new Zod from the Man of Steel, which was a terrible, wonderful movie. That's a best Zod ever. Oh, man, I love that. That was great. Those good times.
I'm going to make you do number 9, too.
Okay. Animation 2.0. So one of the things that has been working on this week is animation retargeting. A whole lot of progress was made on this. We've finished the first retargeting pass. So this has been mostly of the basic stuff, and you can actually see that in game. There's still some polish that's needed on it, but that basic retargeting is there. And this has primary effect on movements and combat. And they've begun to work on some of the more minor assets like the fidgets and the class unique idols. So that is what Scott and Sandra have been working on. And they've also been retargeting some of the archer and healer archetypes, as well as travel fidgets and emotes. And even the torch, the torch that is being worked on. So hopefully we will see that fixed soon, so you can be in travel mode and have your torch, and actually have your torch in travel mode. That'll be nice. I really want that fixed.
That'll be nice.
That'd be nice. And waiting. So Joe's week has been a quote. This is in quotes here. A blur of waiting. You see, it's a pun. It's blur waiting, but we're talking about wait, as in the. Never mind. I'm not going to explain the difference.
It's the rigging. Like, go watch the last stream that I did. Where I explain how stuff works, how it's all connected, how you have like a rigid bone here and a rigid bone here, and every vertex on the character's mesh needs to be, you move this % with this bone and this % with this bone, and like obviously right here it's going to be all the forearm, but in the middle, making wrists not collapse is an art.
It is literally an art. There's even people who have degrees in this specific art. So that has been in progress, and so every new mesh that we've done, all of them need to have this new weighting done on it. So Joe has been busy weighting all of our new meshes.
Part of the game development process.
It is one of those steps that you have to do in order to have models not fly around in a T-pose. I mean, we could just make T-pose the game, but that doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah, I mean, there was this brief time when like models were, just like a series of boxes. Just like a rigid box and a rigid box, and it was just completely rigid
with pivot points.
Yeah.
Yep. Pivot rotation. That was the first animation that I ever did when I was in school. Was doing character animation with pivot boxes. It's awful.
I think Half-Life 1 was one of the first games to ship like skeletal animation with deformable bones.
I remember seeing that, and I was just like, what? I was very impressed. Yeah. I was an impressible kid though, so.
I had to port that shit to the Mac.
Oh God.
Oh God, let's not talk.
Let's not talk about that. That's
so many Indian errors.
Yeah.
With an E.
I can't even. Oh, that hurts me in my soul to think about. All right, I'm done thinking about it. You get to do 10 through 12 though. That way everything's perfectly balanced, as they should be.
So number 10, design. Ben's has been working on classes.
You didn't read my pun? I put a great pun in the title of this one. So read the email, you'll see the pun. It's very fun.
Upon what subject?
What he was working on.
All right. So Ben has been finalizing the Spirit Mage class design, which people are looking forward to, and started on the Stealther class design.
Oh my God! Stealth is happening!
Confirmed!
Unfortunately, we've taken him off of that now, so he's not working on that now. Now he's working on updating our siege engine designs. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, stealth is cancelled.
Yep.
Deconfirmed! Deconfirmed!
Just. Whew.
You're confirmed.
Okay. Yeah, you get to do 11 and 12.
Okay.
I was going to read it, but this is all
So,
Andrew show.
number 11. Ash and Andrews, the weekly top 10.
Weekly top 10, even though this is 12.
So, you know, I'm gonna say, so weekend testing is not an update that we completed,
Nope.
and you know, fixing a bug we introduced the same week is not, you know,
that doesn't count.
Yeah. So there's 10. There's
10 real items.
Yeah, 10 specific. You know, so and that's not to say that there weren't like a ton of other things we did.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, they didn't rate.
No, well, I mean,
They weren't the 10 best things.
I wouldn't even say that. It's just, it's not really user visible. I mean, we could talk about it, but it's kind of like boring. Like, well, do I get to see this in the game? I'm like, not really. I mean, you know it's there because the things happen, but you don't really get to like touch it, feel it, and play with it, and break it, and
Yeah,
blow
so
it up.
these are the things that, you know, are directly user visible that went in this week. New class skill icons.
Lots of icons.
Yeah,
They're really cool.
lots of icons. Dozens and dozens and dozens of new skill icons for archer abilities.
At least 3.3.
Working on healers. Yeah.
Yeah. They're very cool. You should see them very soon. As soon as we start switching over to the new skill system, you get to see all the new icons.
It's not really new skill system.
Yeah, I don't know what else to like.
Yeah, but it is going to be opening back up the skill builder where you can connect together rooms. And you know, we had a fun test on hatchery.
Yeah, it was good times.
That's not going to be on new auto prep.
Yep.
It's in there. The code's there, but
Yeah.
it's not opened up for alphas yet. We're gonna have to break a few more things before we.
Yes. There's
a few more eggs get to be broken before we can serve you that omelet.
We also have to get like the cheese and the ham.
But yeah,
maybe a little bit of bacon.
As the sheer number of skills and abilities that you can craft from all of these runes expands, then the need for more icons also expands and updates, and we're making it sexy.
It's going to be an in progress thing for a while, I think. I mean, as we just keep adding more and more bits for each of the skills, we're going to have more icons. Then we're going to add more skills. We're going to need more icons. It's going to be great.
More skills, more icons.
More skills, more game.
And number 12.
Designs. Number 12.
Ability sound effects.
Sound effects for abilities.
Whole bunch of new stuff for abilities. Flybys for the lashing creeper skill. There's a nasty looping sound for disease effects. Just some all-purpose collection of magic user sounds.
Some generic.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
DB been doing his thing, and Dave will be helping hook those into the game very shortly. The sounds are done.
Yeah.
Dave got detoured into a lot of patcher stuff this week.
He did. We needed to fix our bad on the patcher. Yeah, kind of make that right. That was on us, but yeah. And as soon as he's done with that, he's going to be back onto more rendering stuff. So that'll be exciting for the character 2.0 stuff. Giving you guys a sneak peek into the future with my production powers.
Yeah,
that's the top 10.
Yeah, I'll be back in Fairfax.
I know, I'm gonna be sad. I'm gonna be lonely. So right now his desk
is another new hire in Fairfax starting on Monday. Not gonna say anything more except that I'm happy about it.
Yep, that is gonna be exciting.
We'll
make my life easier.
Once he's proven himself and proven both his loyalty and his usefulness.
So what you're saying is there's going to be like a body on a carpet sort of situation. Is that what I'm hearing? That's scary, man. That's very scary. Yeah, that's scary. I'm scared now. Look at the fear on my face.
Omerta.
All right. So we had some video of some of the latest and greatest rubble bloopers.
We
haven't seen this. We're going to see it for the
My
first
beard
time
is asymmetric.
with you guys.
Yeah, I'm looking at the monitor now so that I can see this footage, and I realize, oh man, my beard was totally.
I'm gonna like split my beard. I'm gonna have like 2 beards. That work? Did I get the whale tail beard going on? Not so much. Do it, Brian.
All right.
Roll it.
Roll it.
I see. That doesn't seem like the right. That doesn't seem like the right video. There seems to be some not video. I mean, unless this is a bug that we need to fix. Is this a?
Did this happen because there we are.
Okay, gotcha.
Where's me?
Oh, hey, check it out.
Oh look, there's me. Okay, so while we're doing this, let's just go ahead and open it up to questions, and we'll periodically say absurd things about what's going on with the destruction of buildings over here.
Absurd. Be good times.
Bring the pain, Brian.
Bring it.
All right. So,
Oh, is that a building? Is that a flare-made structure?
That's cool.
Yeah,
I think
do
that's one
that.
of Bob. I think that's one of Bob's
oh,
sections.
hacks!
Yeah.
Hacks!
I think we're actually looking at hatchery.
Oh, I see.
So, yep.
Oh, how is that still standing?
Yeah, that should fall down.
That's before Collins changed.
Yeah,
Actually,
Collins.
no, that could stay up. I think mathematically. Not well.
Oh, look at boom! Why is
Yeah.
that still there? This is. Come on, crush it, crush it! All right, give us a question while we wait for the divinity to happen.
Question from the Dark Society Network. Oh, go ahead.
By the way, just so you all know, yeah, the damage is turned up to insane levels. One guy with a hammer will not be able to do this to a building
Yes.
in this amount of time.
This is purely for testing purposes. This is not how destruction is really going to be. I mean,
It will require catapults,
yes, big.
trebuchets.
Meaty.
Did you know that a trebuchet can throw a 90-kilogram projectile over 300 meters?
I did know that, as a matter of fact.
Wow, where did you learn it?
Well, I have heard that there is a place on the internet where they talk about the best siege engine.
Where is that?
It might be on a website where you might have read it. I don't know.
I don't read things. Find me a podcast.
There you go.
There's
Anyway.
some.
All right.
Okay.
Oh,
Boom.
nice!
Question 1 comes from
Yeah.
Ogilvy.
Yeah, so part of what I'm working on right now, by the way, is to make that actually continue to break apart more. Instead of just being a chunk of building that... Wait, are you walking on it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
He's
totally
going to in a second.
Oh,
No, now
I
you're
was
just
hovering.
flying.
I was
Yeah, you're
hovering, and then
flying.
I fall back. Yeah.
All right, Dark Society Network. What
There
do
we
you
go.
got
Now
for
I'm
us?
walking onto it. Nope. Actually, we're switching to Ogilvy.
Okay, Odo.
When a building is made in cube,
Doing a rebel dance. Dun, 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 rebel dance.
When a building is made in
when a
cube.
building is made in cube, does the structure remain in individual cubes, or will it be optimized or compressed into larger multi-cube segments / structures?
Oh, super technical question that I am uniquely qualified
That
to answer.
That is a good question for you.
You know, the whole building is tracked internally with every single cube in there, and but oh, you hit it! You hit it! Yeah. So obviously, there's still some physics to improve, but anyway, so the way we work it is we divide it into segments that are basically into a big grid, and we slice it into into cubes of volume that are like 16 meters on a side, or 8 or whatever, and as those things go, and then like each of those we run through a mesh simplifier to we started out with just like here's 2 triangles for every cube face. And then we run it through a mesh simplifier, which we talked about this week, and we end up emitting a series of just meshes that for each section of it. And so when part of the building changes, we only regenerate that section. And we have a super efficient way of tracking like changes of like here's a version of the building, and here's another version of the building that came over the server from the server, and what do we how do we quickly identify differences there. And so and so what we do with that is, and we do the same thing for physics and generate physics colliders. We generate slightly different physics colliders between rubble and between rubble and actual building plots. For building plots, we generate super accurate, triangle mesh colliders that, it's exactly matches the shape of the rendering. It just doesn't, care about like what your, what materials are used or anything like that.
I got you.
For once it becomes a piece of rubble, what we do is build we like take each of those sections and we build optimized colliders, like what's called a convex hull, and then sort of joint those together and send them out into the world.
It's pretty cool.
So, there are several different. So the answer is yes to all of it.
both sides of your questions were right.
When it comes in from a cube, though, it's still always individual blocks. We are always tracking that data. We are always sending it down from the client. And I'm so looking forward to seeing this thing fall apart.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing.
Yeah. So again, this is a bug that crept in with the building server, where like you do damage and we recalculate the stability and what falls apart, and that breaks off as rubble, but we weren't iterating it and saying, okay, now that this thing broke off because it was too damaged and it wasn't following with, and so now stress is moved onto the other parts of the building and break them apart. So we'll be back to what you had been seeing of, crack, spreading progressively and then falling over. It only reruns that now, like when it takes damage, but that's already fixed on Hatchery, and we'll have it on New Auto Prep for the weekend. So, yeah, there's your answer.
All right, so from Dark Society Network, with the heavy emphasis on performance, will ray tracing ever make it into CU?
It's not, it's not really in our plans right now. It's definitely at this point we're trying as much as we can to just get gameplay, and adding engine tech features for the sake of engine tech. Ooh, look at that. Cool. Engine tech features for the sake of engine tech features is not a priority right now. As much as I would love to go off and obsess over that.
And one thing to consider is that's ray tracing for a lot of reasons isn't something that
boom.
Oh, it's rolling. Isn't something that we're strictly saying no to at any point in time. It's just that
the people who are good at ray tracing need to ship CU.
Exactly. So it has nothing to do with performance. It has everything to do with just prioritization of work and what we want our deliverables to be.
Oh, it's just rolling.
Oh my! Look at that! Oh, how high is it going? How high is it going?
Oh, he can't.
It's
canned footage. He can't actually go look up.
Oh, I know. Damn.
So yeah, I'm, the two people best qualified to add ray tracing stuff are me and George, and we are both so fully tasked. But
yep.
I would be very surprised if post launch, once we have a little more bandwidth, we don't go back and do some things. So I'll never say no to that. But I will say, oh man. I want to keep this bug in the game. I want to just be able to stay in that castle.
Right. I want Sky Castle. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, there it goes again. Fly, you mad castle, fly. Oh, God, that's brilliant.
So, yeah. Sometime by the end of the next week, the castle itself should be breaking apart every time it gets hit like that. But this is,
oh, this is great. Oh, no. Oh, okay. I was afraid it was going to clip into the ground and disappear. Man. Oh, yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, rubble has an expiration time.
I think I had it set to a minute or 2 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah. Yes, I would love to add ray tracing. Next question.
Sniper Pac-Man asks, even though it would take way longer, is it possible for people to damage down walls or doors without the use of siege weapons?
Yes.
just going to take forever. I mean,
not every not every weapon. Like there are some weapons they're just going to be completely below the damage threshold. There's no number of arrows that you can shoot at a stone wall that will cause that to fall down. Yeah. There's probably a number of hammer blows that will cause it to fall down, though.
All right. Odovic asks, will we one day be able to design our own cubes with mini cubes in a 4x4x4 matrix to allow for finer details, or a wider range of cubes, perhaps quarter of a curved round column, 4 quarters equals a round column?
So we have a pretty good selection of those kinds of things now. If there are specific cubes that we're not planning to just allow players to add totally arbitrary cubes to the game.
Yeah, that would be rough.
But if there are things that would make it better, right on your head, dude, right on your head. If there are particular cube shapes that would make life easier for you as a builder, post in the forum about them, and we're not trying to, we're not specifically trying to limit it to. It's just, we're also not letting you do completely insane things.
Right. I mean, we would love your feedback, especially if you've got ideas of what your use for that be and the general use case for new cubes are. Yeah, totally. Put it in forums. Let us know. One of the concerns, obviously, is just that's another thing we have to support and track. So that would be the only thing that we'd be worried about.
Yeah, but we're game.
Yeah.
Post.
Let us know. We love that kind of feedback.
Next question. Before this thing falls on Brian's head.
It's gonna be so great. I can't wait for this.
Like he's just.
I'm disappointed that he's not taking damage from it though.
Yeah, that's.
We need to get that.
Yeah, I had a week of I hadn't been out here in 6 weeks, so I spent a lot of time just on the FaceTime with West Coast people. So that's I'm gonna get back to heads down shortly.
I'm not calling you out, man. I'm just excited for that because that's gonna be my favorite way to kill people is set up traps where I've got large weights supported by just tiny stones that are getting damage from the weight, and then just knock those stones out as they're coming up, drop walls on them. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
So Adri Cortesia
That's one way to fight power creep.
Adri Cortesia asks, what is the reason you implemented the 64-bit client recently instead of earlier in development? Have you thought the 32-bit client would be sufficient during the Kickstarter?
So it was really just what is shortest path. There's a lot of things. What is the shortest path right now? And 5 years ago, well, the percentage of people running 64-bit was nowhere near the 99% that it is now. We're gonna make that. So it just made sense of like, oh, we got to put something out right now, make something that everyone can run, and then that kind of got baked in. But again, the 64-bitness of it actually really hasn't been the obstacle. It's the infrastructure around it to have the patcher deploy both and let you pick. It's switching to another piece of UI middleware along with it. The actual just make it run as a 64-bit executable was trivial.
That part took like 4 or 5 days
like
total.
The server's built from the same code, and the server's always been 64-bit. So yeah, it really is just it's the infrastructure and the process. Man, when is this gonna fall?
I know. I think very soon. I think he's gonna try and make a takeoff though. The whole thing's just gonna go flying.
All right, Nick. Yeah, got a good one.
Hello Fiddy asks, when may Beta 1 players play more often?
I'm not going to exactly promise that. That's going to be an MJ question to decide because he's kind of final arbiter on is this good enough to. Boom!
Ooh, oh, in 2 pieces. Look at that go! Look at that go! Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I really need to get that chunks breaking apart, but it's hilarious.
That color scheme is what makes it all the different.
The great motley.
Oh, go space building, go. You're coming back down to earth.
Wait, what was the question again? I was distracted. Boom! What was the question again?
About Beta 1 schedule.
Yeah. So I will say that part of what we're doing through December is getting specifically that that battle at Helm's Deep that we've always had as our benchmark.
Yep.
Getting that together and getting that into people's hands as a playable thing, or Siege at Pelennor Fields, one or those two things. And so, we've done the basic Siege design for that, and once that's in, I think that's going to be both beta. That's going to be both beta 1 coming in, and also lifting the stream NDA is where I think that's going to both happen.
And again, we're not giving specifics on the date on that. It's just that's our forward path right now. That's kind of where we're
gone forever.
Yep.
No.
It never comes back after
The
this.
Kraken has it now.
Yeah, it has gone into the ocean now. So we're not giving any specific timelines on that, but that is sort of our next major milestone in terms of the gameplay work and the work that we're doing, is to kind of stitch all these things together so that we can have that kind of siege loop experience and give you guys as much time to play with that as possible.
Yeah.
And we'll be kind of adding to that and kind of using that as our next major test beds scenario, like we had the deathmatch and the capture point for a long time as our sort of major test beds. We're hoping to use this siege one as sort of that next major test bed to give us a chance to stitch all these pieces together.
I don't normally have like the camera. I don't normally have the monitor where I can see myself.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
excellent.
So yeah.
Yeah, this is. I think
Got
when
a
we do
target.
the new setup, we'll have to make sure that it has like a nice view monitor so that we can kind of stare ourselves in the eyes as we're talking to the community. Because that won't be weird.
It's always distracting because like it's not quite where the camera is, so I'm distracted by the moving
it's a little
thing.
kind of looking over there.
Yeah, discipline. Discipline. Focus on the camera.
Camera discipline,
And not that other camera.
and not the other one over there,
Oh,
and
we
not the
haven't
lights.
cut to that one yet. Odelvic asks, we have nice hills in game. Does the engine scale to snow-capped mountains?
Yes.
Oh, easily.
Let's see here.
Need to have some, God of War, Red Dead snow.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
We definitely, like, we do the some of the more interesting like biome change stuff. We definitely need to give the Vikings some serious snow happening.
OG and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. OG and Yalius asks, you mentioned the patcher breaking. Why not use unit testing to prevent this from happening in the future? Test-driven helps to catch bugs before they are released.
So this was more of a functionality thing where like we weren't specifically looking for on certain systems it all works but the CPU load goes to 100%. Like that was not a thing that we had a specific test for.
Right.
So unit testing is and it was a thing that only happened with like a whole bunch of systems deployed together on certain systems out in the wild. So unit testing is only as good as your unit tests.
Right, and we don't have a very robust hardware matrix to do that testing on. So
we rely on IT for that.
Yeah.
And that's that's the big change. That was the good side of this, which is that we now have a way to deploy a patcher just to IT before we take it to the wild.
And then, if any of them have issues, we can know about it a lot sooner because they'll be able to see it and let us know right away when something like this happens. Because it was such a small number of people in specific situations that it was very unusual, and none of our machines could have caught it. We don't even have any machines in office that are set up in the way to naturally produce this. We were able to reproduce it internally, but it took some doing.
So, next.
What you got?
What you got?
Odelvic asks, if two pieces of rubble with holes in the middle, like we saw in the video, were joined like a chain, would they stay together?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, so I think you should go on to Hatchery and build it and see what happens.
Yeah. This sounds like a wonderful test. I think somebody needs to build this.
I
or
think
build several
I think
links.
it means kind of, two things like this.
Yeah.
So right now it'd have to be a really big hole because of the convex hull stuff that we do. Most after I get done with next week, most likely just, they would fall and one or both of them would break at the point of joining, because that's, probably more plausible than some of the insane things that we have now. But if you made something that was big enough,
jumbo plot.
yeah.
You could, especially actually,
where the convex hull, like we divide it up into segments, and
of the
put a
appropriate
convex
size.
hull on each of those segments, and if you made it so that it was really big and you had like the loops would not connect.
Could happen.
Yeah, it would happen. It would do that, but you'd need to build to very specific things of aligning it with certain grid lines, and maybe we'll do better. Maybe we'll enhance the fidelity of that a little bit in the future. But
yeah.
All right, 5-minute warning.
Okay.
Hells Ech asks, could cubes be sculptable? Where can we modify the faces, lines, and vertices from the cube's cube and other limits?
So we've talked a lot about subgrids. That's not forgotten. But yeah, there's not really you get into, as you get denser and denser, it just turns into, well, really you're just asking for a 3D modeling program. And that makes it pretty hard to, when you can make any shape at all, just the bandwidth requirements get icky.
Yeah, I mean, even with the best compression and prediction possible, we get to a point with what we are pumping through the network having practical limitations because it has to go out to everybody who's connected. So hasn't been forgotten. There's still some plans for subgrids, but I don't know if it's going to be
kind of the final pass on making stability more awesome is using subgrids as a key part of that. So.
Yeah.
Got a question from MJ CSE. I have a question. If Andrew and Ash engaged in a beard pulling contest, who would win?
Because I read that. I was reading that and I was waiting. I was keeping my eye on the chat, and I saw the question come up, and he was not ready. He was not ready. It's not who pulls harder, it's who pulls first. Yeah, you just got bit by your spirit animal.
Anyway, moving along. What's our next question?
I don't know. I think we should stay on that for a second. Ash, just savor your different.
That's gonna be a GIF. I know that's gonna be a GIF.
Yeah, that's gonna get memed. Oh well, could be worse.
This is how game development is done.
This is true. This is literally what game development is like.
It's you should report this to HR.
Okay, hold on.
Who's your supervisor, Ash?
Damn it!
MJ says, so much win, Andrew. All right, last question from Dark Society Network. If I store a bunch of stuff in a chest in a castle and the enemy is destroying the walls below it, what will happen to the chest and the contents when the floor below it collapses?
So if it's just a chest that's not mounted to the building in any way, then that's just going to become a free physics object. I think we need to make sure that make sure that the contents of the chest affect the mass of the chest for physics purposes.
I mean, part of inventory, inventory stuff.
There's no plan around like having the contents of the chest fly out. Because I mean that's just we're relaxing rules about physical volume. You can put things into a chest that the model is bigger than the model of the item is bigger than the model of the chest. So if just like if we just like open the lid of the chest and immediately spawned all of the items as physics objects, then the physics system would say, "Crap, they're colliding," and it would just
blow up. It'd be like that Oblivion.
It'd just be like stepping on a claymore of swords, pretty much.
Oh man, if we could make them do physical damage, that'd be so great. Like just load chests into trebuchets and throw the chests full of swords at people, and then they explode with swords everywhere.
Okay, Ash, have you looked at my Jiraku?
Yeah.
Like, connect in your head the dots of the things in the Jiraku and realize if I did all of those, that's exactly what would happen. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. I've tasked this out, man. Like, yeah, it's there's take the rubble physics, take all the things we do about rubble physics and prediction and factor that out and also use it for dropped items. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
and then we could do transfer of force and then have a damage based on the physical force, which you already got working on for rubble. Yeah. More of swords. Swordmore. Or what would you? I mean, a claymore is already a sword. How do you?
I want to write a young adult fantasy novel about the kingdom of Swordmore.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
That's like it's exactly the right kind of bad but good.
Yeah. I think like the main protagonist has to be like totally like an edgelord with like 14 swords. Like none of this Witcher 2 swords nonsense. No, he's got like a backpack of swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. I'm gonna write up a draft.
What he
of this.
does is like he gets a chest and he puts more swords into the chest than physically fit in the chest.
There we go.
And you open the chest and swords everywhere. Swordmore.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, and I'll see you next week.